So it'll start soon. So my name is Julia Buckingham, and I'm the lead teacher at the Kickapoo Valley Forest School. And today we're going to talk about um, the cultivating weather resiliency and some winter weather resiliency and fun winter activities. And with me tonight is Jimena Puig. Jimena, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm working with Julia this year on writing the curriculum for the forest school, and we're working on bringing it to life, which is really fun. And I have an early childhood background, so lots of experience getting small children dressed to get out in all weather, and two small children who I get dressed every day. So we have lots of good information to share with you today.
Yes, and if any of our friends joining us have something to add, please go right ahead.
Yes.
There's lots to talk about, I'm sure. Fun tips to share. So we are a public charter school, free tuition charter school, opening our doors in September 2021. We're going to start with 4K and kindergarten students and add a grade each year as our students grow grade up through second. Pretty exciting. So here's our mission and our newly created tagline, which we're super excited about, learning from the outside in. So there's lots of ways you can interpret that. So we're pretty excited to share that with you because we hope our children are outside as much as possible. And there's so many benefits that they can reap from that experience being outside, really developing their inner self. So today we're going to talk about some benefits of weather immersion. We're going to talk about some particular layers that we recommend and the reasons why. And then we'll go over a few tips. And then Jimena and I put together a few fun activities to share that you and your family can do during the winter season if you so choose. So a list here. I love these two pictures. There's the one on the right has these three students all geared up in, winter gear. Still looks kind of cold. They have mittens on, boots, but they're outside. It looks wet. So they're out there and they still seem like they're enjoying themselves. And then in the middle picture, that smile on that one's face is great because they're in that deep snow. So it's really neat to see. And in the background, you can even see how like the dusting of snow is still on the trees. So that kind of talks about one of the benefits that I listed was that appreciation of that natural beauty, no matter what the weather is like. There's always something beautiful to behold. There could be, dew dripping off of the trees or snow stuck onto the evergreens and beautiful smells in the air. So being outside in all different types of weather really allow the child to experience these opportunities which they may not otherwise if they were inside because they may be a little nervous about going out there because it might be too cold, for instance. But we have the mindset that if you're dressed properly, then you'll be able to be outside no matter how cold or wet it is. So you get to learn the different natural phenomena that occur in each season. There's lots of things that happen, and in order to find out, you need to get out there and discover those. I feel that each time as an adult, each time I go outside, there's always something new that I learn. So it's pretty neat because nature is a powerful teacher, and you never know what you're going to glean. That physical and tactile experiences. So, the students on the right can understand that wood gets slippery or the ground gets squishy and soft when it's wet, or the different types of snow that can happen. Does the snow pack? Is the snow, just fluffy white, like not compactable snow? So all these different experiences can happen when are offered lots of opportunities. Grit and resilience. Yes, you might be wet, your socks might be wet, or your mittens might be, a little wet, or there might be a rip in your pants or something. But the fact that you can deal with it and take care of yourself and learn from it really and realize that it's not the end of the world and that there's an end to your long hike or trudge through the snow. That ability to experience that and learn from that, even though in the direct, forefront, it's hard to deal with, but reflecting back on it at the end, it's really, really, beneficial. You mean it's that same thing of, the old saying of people hiking. Oh, I remember when I used to have to hike to school in 20 feet of snow uphill, right? Like they remember that and they feel like, empowered because of it, right? So just thinking about that as a resilience builder. And once again, I mentioned that appreciation for the natural beauty of the world. So how to plan for a successful day. There's a few tips that I've come to realize, and I'm sure there's more. So this would be a good time to add if you have any extra. Um, Young children, and especially if you're doing practice number 4, children can practice getting ready on their own. And if you're going to do that, you're definitely going to need to give yourself the first one I listed on here, which is ample time to get ready to be outside. So, I mean, some children can get ready in 5 minutes, and some children I've seen take 45 minutes to get on all of their gear. And remember, it's a learning experience. So allowing them to put themselves, like to put all their clothes on themselves, is very helpful, but they need to have the time to do that. And make sure that they go to the bathroom before they get on all the gear, because as soon as they get everything on, they may need to use that, and so you'd have to start all over again. Routine, if children understand that they as routine, even down to the clothes, what goes on first. Snow pants go on first, then your boots, then your coat, then your scarf, then your hat, then your mitten. That sort of routine, but also maybe a routine in the day, as far as getting into that rhythm. Children, like I said, children should be able to practice getting ready on their own. And the proper gear, which Jimena will talk about in the next few slides, makes a huge difference. And we'll give some suggestions on some proper gear. And there'll also be some more suggestions in our family handbook that we are putting the last finishing touches on too, and should have out posted on our website in the next couple weeks. Um, Offer a snack high in protein, because we don't want children to get hungry. But then also you can bring snacks with you on your day in your adventure. Check the weather forecast and bring extra layers and clothes. So perhaps you might want to make sure you have a raincoat if rain is in the forecast. Um, Extra clothes and extra tissue. Children seem to always get runny noses. So having that tissue is helpful if they have a little scrape. Um, and I think maybe one of the most important things on this list is to make sure that adults have a positive attitude. Because if you reflect that enthusiasm, then children will pick up on that and want to be excited about going out. If you're saying, "Oh, it's too cold," or "Oh, I can't believe we have to go outside," that negative attitude will brush off on the children. So making going outside in no matter what type of weather positive experience, at least at the initial getting ready to go out, can go a long ways. Um, and make sure you head outside in all weather, not just when it's warmer and the sun is shining. Sometimes I feel like ho ho hum, I can't believe it. I need to go outside. But when I do, even if it's really cold, I really feel like it's like I really ended up enjoying it. But it's just getting out there and starting to walk around and warm your body up. And then I think that makes a big difference. So, Jimena, do you want to talk about some layers?
Sure.
Well,
Um, so we talk about dressing in layers because it makes it a lot easier for children to regulate their body temperatures. If they have lots of layers, they can take off or put on. Like taking off their coat but still having a wool sweater on makes a big difference, and they don't get freezing cold if they take off their coat or they unzip it or something like that. It just makes it easier for them to self-regulate their temperature. And it also makes it so that they may not get so sweaty. Like if you can take off one small layer and still have plenty on underneath that, rather than not wanting to take off your coat and then being super sweaty under there and then getting chilly. it just helps them protect themselves from all the wind and anything that might that weather that might be there. Um, we really, as Julia said, we just really believe that like children are they're going to be happy to be out in any kind of weather if they're dressed properly. You know, even like today was a really kind of like a dreary looking day out the window, but we got outside and it, like all of us just felt like, oh, it's beautiful. So just being dressed, being warm and dry makes your experience um, can make your experience really positive. Um, and we really like to to emphasize the wonders of wool, which can keep you warm even when it's wet, and just adds like this wonderful warmth to any set of layers that you're wearing. And weather can change rapidly, and just like we just check the forecast, but and then make sure that we adjust properly and head out. So we
The
have a
video.
little video of a little child who's getting dressed very well for his outdoor adventure. You can tell he really has rhythm, has a rhythm and a routine that he knows
Mhm.
perfectly. Mm.
Mm, cute. Let me
Yeah,
pause this. I like how let me pause it. So what's going on? Maybe if I change it, it'll stop. I still
yeah.
want it to replay.
Mm.
um, I love how enthusiastic he was at the end.
Yes, so accomplished.
Yeah, part of the learning process to get all that gear on for sure.
Yeah. So here are the layer recommendations that we have and that we put in our handbook and we'll make to families coming to the forest school. Um, we really like to see a good base layer, either silk or wool, especially wool is great, or some other kind of good insulative base layer, long underwear kind of layer. Um, and then it's great to have another layer, if it's really, really cold outside, another layer of wool on top of that. Like my boys often wear like recycled sweater pants, the sleeves made into pants on top of their base layer. And same, you know, a cotton shirt and then maybe a wool sweater on top of that. Um, um, or a fleece layer. Um, also works. Wool socks are super duper important. They'll kind of be breathable for your for the feet and extra warm, much better than cotton in the winter. And once again, if they were wet, they still keep your feet warm, which is great. Um, and then we really recommend in if it's even if it's not raining, rain pants unless it's really cold, and then snow pants if it's super cold. But even if it's not raining, rain pants just keep a child from getting wet if the ground is damp or if they happen to encounter a wonderful puddle or if they walk by the creek. Um, they're just great to have and also keep the other clothes a little bit cleaner. You know, they won't be quite so muddy when they come home if they have had their rain pants on. Then snow pants for sure if the ground is cold, even if it's not snowy. I mean, if the ground, you know, if there's been a couple freezes and the ground is going to be cold and you know they're going to be sitting on the ground, snow pants are wonderful. Um, Same thing for a raincoat, even if it's not raining in the cooler weather, it'll just keep them. It's like they can act as a windbreak also and keep a child from getting damp if they're playing on the ground. Winter coats, a nice winter coat with a shell that won't get snagged so easily and collect burrs and stuff like that is great. Definitely at the forest school, children will be tromping through the woods and coming into contact with briar bushes and twigs and stuff. Um, and insulated boots. So Julie and I have been discussing foot gear for the forest school. Um, we you know a nice flexible rain boot is great for the spring and the fall, again if they encounter puddles or go by a creek or something like that, just to be prepared is great, although sometimes maybe we'd wear tennis shoes or other things too. But in the winter we would really recommend a winter boot that has a removable felt liner that can be so it can be taken out and dried at the end of the day, so their feet don't get clammy, or if they do happen to go through a puddle or something like that, it's easy to dry them out. Waterproof mittens. Is it? Yes, because yeah. What child doesn't eat snow? If there's snow, you know, ouch. And continuously. So some good mittens that'll keep their fingers from getting really wet. There are also these mittens that are like kind of like a raincoat material that you could put over another pair of mittens in the spring and the fall when it's really super wet. Those are wonderful. And once again, all of this gear recommendations will be given in great detail in the family handbook that we're working on.
Yeah, I remember in the handbook when you were writing up that section, you talked about the mittens that like go over your the coat, the sleeve of your coat too.
Oh yes, for sure. Yes, having a mitten that will, yeah, go over or under with a nice long cuff so that it doesn't get filled up with snow is just a really great thing for our climate.
Yeah, and sometimes they even like zip at the end too, or have a Velcro where you can almost fasten it a little bit
Right. Yeah.
tighter.
Or elastic. Yeah,
Hmm.
those are really great. Because
And one thing, yeah, go ahead.
oh, just I mean, you know, going into a snowbank with and getting your wrists all filled up with snow is no fun.
Hmm. Yes. Great. One thing on the tips I didn't add, but I should add in here is place your name, your last family's last name, perhaps inside all of your gear, can help keep everything straight. But Jimena and I have been talking about procedures that we can do at school to make sure that everyone's gear is in line and children have the time to make all their gear like accountable for like be accountable for their gear, um, and have the proper
Mhm.
places to hang everything. But that's a tip that I should add to this list is place names inside your
Yeah.
um so were you going to go over more tips or do you want me to? I forget what.
I, I'm happy to either way.
Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
Um, so just that boots are likely to come home wet, even if it's just from sweat from being active all day long. And so it's great to put them near a wood stove or a heater vent or something like that. Or Julia's great. I think this is a great idea. Put crumpled newspaper in there to draw out the moisture. Or if you have removable liners, you can pull those out and make sure they get dried off really well. Same thing, make sure mittens and hats and coats and snow pants, everything just gets checked and hung up at the end of the day, so it can be nice and dry for the next day. Um, as I mentioned earlier, they'll be going through all kinds of snags probably, so sometimes these coats, especially down coats, seem to get little holes. Duct tape is great. Any kind of tape. Scraping off extra mud. We put in our handbook a recommendation that this waterproof gear isn't washed all the time because it tends to lose its waterproof quality, but they also often recommend for that kind of gear to like remove the excess dirt, even if it's like with a damp cloth or something like that, or scraping it off or shaking it off. That also helps them last longer. um, and for sure involve your children. This can be quite a big list of gear chores at the end of the day, and involve your children in helping take care of their gear and hang it up where it belongs, and etc. Put their boots by the wood stove. um, Also, they're sure to come home dirty and wet at the end of the day. We really never want that to be a hindrance in children really experiencing the outdoors. Worry about getting dirty. So we would recommend having some kind of system for your car when you pick them up. If it's like a tarp or a plastic bag or something to cover the seat, so it's just not even something you worry about. Maybe a tote to put their really super muddy boots in so they don't get kicked all over the back of your seat. Um, and then we're really hoping to have kind of like some kind of like dry waterproof sacks that um, we can send wet clothes home in if the children get wet at school. So that would be for sure a chore to just check the backpack, and if there's a bag of wet clothes in there, to take them out and replace them with dry clothing so that your child can always have nice dry clothes to wear at school should they need to change, which we imagine will be a regular occurrence. Um, and then we're really hoping to have some kind of lending system. We haven't figured out the details exactly at school, because we know that this gear can be really expensive, and we want everybody to have access to it and make sure that every child really can enjoy themselves fully because they're warm and dry. So that's something we'll be working out the details of, and making sure all parents know that there might be gear that can be checked out for the year or rented or some. We haven't figured out the details. And then also we'll have a stock of extra things at school should someone become really dry or wet, or not be warm enough or something like that.
Yeah, and I wonder too if parents and families are interested in having maybe like a gear swap sometime too or something. That might be
Yeah.
if they're interested. Um, and then also I was thinking about this while you were speaking, Jimena, was another tip could possibly be buying a larger, like in the earlier in the season, buying these if you needed to buy or procure these gear, buying them a little bit larger, knowing that your child is going to grow throughout the year too. So,
Hmm.
buying your snow pants probably and your winter coat a little bit larger than it would. So instead of them fitting them just right, buying on the larger side of things.
Yeah, totally. And a little large is kind of nice too, because more room gives them more space for their body heat to kind of like create that insulative layer. And also sleeves and cuffs and don't come up as much if they're a little bit on the bigger side. Um, so let's see. Um, as I mentioned before, they're just we think of like rain gear and snow gear for just rain or snow, but those rain gear especially is just really wonderful for all basically all spring and fall weather. Here's a picture of a boy in the forest. It's not raining, but he's all geared up, and he's for sure a lot more comfortable that way. Same with waterproof boots. You just never know when you might encounter water, and it's nice to have dry feet. Um, we also recommend hats for sun, to keep sun, like really strong direct sun off of children's faces and eyes, and just so they're not having to squint and worry about the sun. And also for cold, a great hat, like we lose, a ton of body heat can be lost through the head. So if you have a good hat, you're likely to stay a lot warmer. And then also for ticks, which is one of the very, one of the worries that we have about the forest is we want to do everything we can to protect them from ticks. So having a good hat on can keep ticks from climbing into their hair, which is great. Uh, and same with socks, having nice long socks that can be pulled over the cuffs of the pants. That just helps prevent those little ticks from scurrying up their pant legs.
And wool socks even more than just the winter weather, like you had mentioned earlier, too.
Right. Yeah.
So, would anyone like to share one of their fun winter family activities? If you don't know, the Kickapoo Valley Reserve has a very fun sledding hill.
Mm-hmm.
So, I really enjoy sledding. We're lucky around here to have lots of hills. Sometimes KBR has an ice skating rink, but I don't know if they've had them the last couple years. Do you know, Jackie, has KBR had a skating rink at all in the last couple years?
I think in the last year there wasn't one at all, but the year before, the ice rink was down in Lafarge. The village maintained it, and the KVR has ice skates for anyone to use at no cost.
Wow,
Awesome.
that's neat. And then KBR also has cross country skis as well. Is that correct?
That is correct. Not every size and for everyone, but there is a good variety, and there's also some snowshoes that you can rent. And I do know that if by chance Lafarge doesn't have an ice skating rink, you can always go to some of the sloughs and the backwater and make sure it's good and frozen. But some of those spots are really fun to ice skate in a really natural setting.
Neat. Those are great tips. So we have a few other activities. Jimena, do you want to do the first three and then I'll do the last two?
Sure. So here's a sweet little picture of making kind of like a snowball kind of pyramid in the snow. So you'd make like a whole bunch of snowballs, lay some of them in a circle, then stack them in consecutively smaller circles until they come up into kind of a cone shape, and leave room so you could stick a candle inside, and then the it will glow through the little cracks in between the snowballs. And you could make one or several, or um, go outside with your family and sit next to them and look at the stars or tell stories. Um, yeah, might be a fun thing. Light is always nice at this time of year, especially kind of magical light.
Yeah, it's probably so cool to see. I want to try that for sure.
Here's another idea for making little gifts or ornaments or kind of centerpieces. So finding a smallish log, maybe 4 or less inches across, cutting it into slices, kind of wood cookie style, and then finding little treasures out on an adventure, some berries or beautiful leaves or some evergreen sprigs or something like that, and gluing them on in a decorative style. And you could make them to give away. We made them at the Forest Fridays pilot program last year, and children took them home to their families before the holidays, and they were very cute.
Hmm. I wonder if you could put like a little candle in front inside it or something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, if you stuck it down or if you put a tea light on. One year, my family and I we did actually use a drill press and drill little holes to put candles in on
Cute.
them. It was sweet. And then here's another idea for kind of ornaments, but kind of ephemeral ornaments. So finding some treasures out on a hike someplace, anything you think would be beautiful, and then maybe berries or leaves or acorns or orange slices are really pretty in this too. Collecting all those things and then getting out a circular baking dish of a size you choose, arranging the beautiful nature treasures in it and pouring some water in it to cover all those treasures, and then draping a string that you folded in half with the folded end into the dish and the two loose ends out, and then setting it outside on a cold night. We haven't had so many that would freeze these things solid lately, but hopefully we will soon. So that the whole water has frozen with the treasures inside of it, and then you can take the two loose ends of the string and hang it up someplace where you could see it.
It'd be really pretty if we probably put some together too.
Yeah.
So if there's snow and even in the mud, it'd be fun to look for animal prints. So even if you don't know how to identify different animals, it's fun just to go out there and try to notice patterns or try to pretend like who was here and just follow them, maybe see where maybe they head into a little den, or maybe they go to the base of a tree, and then what happens? You can tell stories about maybe where they've gone, who was here. So animal prints are always really fun to go and try um, to find. So that is another fun activity to always do in the winter. Even if you are unsure of how to identify different prints, a quick search for, a pocket field guide or something on the computer can pop up a lot of information that can get you started. But there's also field guides that you can rent from the library, and yeah, so there's resources out there for sure. And then another fun activity I enjoy doing is this pine cone bird feeder. And I like to use lard instead of peanut butter. One is I have a family member with a peanut allergy. So, and then it depends with when you're using, if you're doing an activity like this with a group of students, it's kind of nice to have lard as an option. And so it's greasy, but not as sticky as peanut butter. So you take the pine cone, you take a butter knife or a spoon, and you scoop and spread the lard on the pine cone. And then you can either roll the pine cone in the birdseed or take the birdseed and sprinkle it across. And then you can hang it on a tree. So I do recommend tying a string onto the pine cone before you slather the lard on, because it'll make it way easier to handle. That way you can hold it instead of trying to grab it with all of the contents on it. And then hanging them out. I had a student once make one at school, bring it home. The birds ate it completely, and then he brought back just the pine cone and the string completely bare of all the lard and the pine cone and the bird seed. And he redid it and brought it back home. So I thought it was really sweet that the birds seemed to really enjoy it. So you may get other visitors besides birds. I'm sure the squirrels will try to get in there too. But it's fun. Activity for children to do. They seem to really enjoy it. And I love this slide. Here's Jimena with a group of children. And we've talked about children gearing up for the weather, but we want to make sure that adults make sure that they gear up as well. So all of these layer suggestions can apply to adults. So if you have the right gear, hopefully you'll be able to stay outside longer and enjoy it more and be brave and excited about getting out there, no matter what the temperature is or the precipitation level is. So don't forget your layers.
Yes.
So does anyone have any questions? That's the end of our presentation. Any questions or comments or interests? So like I said, Jimena and I will have our the family handbook up hopefully soon. We wanted to have it out for parents to look at before enrollment began. February 1st, I believe, is a Monday. So if you're interested in applying, the application will be on the internet, or you can pick it up at the Lafarge School District. And you want to get it in those weeks in February. So our enrollment period to get in to the potential lottery will be till that last business day, Friday in February. So you can check out our website, kickapoovalleyforestschool.org, for more information. We add updates. Our Facebook page also has some information on it. So we're here to answer questions if you have any. But I'll post this in the next couple of days up on our website, so you can view this again if you want. Has some good information. All right.
Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Yes. Thank you, Jimena, for your help.
Of course, my pleasure.
All right.
Good night,
Goodbye.
everybody.